Welcome, everyone. We are live. We are alive on this glorious Monday. Glorious indeed it is. I trust that you enjoyed your weekend and you had time for quiet practice and reflection. If not, it is a new day and a new time to apply the law. Today, how to pour into your own life. You see, we keep looking on the outside for things or people to help you raise your mood. Turn within first. See, because you are desire itself, right? As I told you before, we keep looking to use our willpower, our strength. You put your back into it, the elbow grease. How many people can I call today? Throw mud at the wall to see what sticks. Then, in actuality, turn to imagination first. If you find that you are feeling a little low, a little blue, a little whatever, and you don't want to feel it, always remember it is a state. Remember, it is a state that you are passing through. It is a state you are passing through. So, what do you want the other state to be like? This is where now you get to make the choice. This is how you pour into your own life, by making choices, by doing things that are not associated with guilt. You see, we say, oh, I'll only do this, or I'll only do that, or I'll do this, or I won't do that. And then we end up feeling guilty, or we end up feeling ashamed of the choice we've made. I want you to pay attention to that when you do it. When you do something that you feel ashamed of, or you feel guilty about, notice that it doesn't give you life energy. It leaves you feeling drained, tired. But if your thoughts are along the lines of, wait a minute, I get to choose and decide? What can I choose? What do I want to choose? How do I want to feel? I want to feel like, and you name it. When you start doing that, you actually will feel invigorated. And that is my point today. Do the things that invigorate you. Think upon the things that invigorate you instead of thinking about things that draw your life away from you. Because at the end of the day, you're just thinking anyway. It's your thoughts. It's the way you feel about the thing you are thinking about. This is what it comes down to. We are the movers and shakers in our lives. If you want to have a good experience, what does that even mean? What does it mean to have a good experience? Well, you would have to decide. Get into your mind's eye and start to just toy with the ideas. What would it be like if I wonder what it would be like if I wonder, if I did, and the moment you allow yourself to play around in there, you will genuinely lift your mood. Oh, you will. You have to allow it to happen. because that's this natural progression. Just like if you think about something or someone that upsets you, well, naturally, you will respond with the upset. You will huff and you'll puff and you'll start a whole argument in your mind's eye. Why? Because naturally, what you think about creates a physiological response in your body. That is how you know you've tapped into something and you've turned the spigot on and out your life pours. Funny that. But what if you had a different attitude? You still tap in. You still tap in. But when you turn it on, it doesn't pour out of you, it pours into you. Sometimes we get caught up in things. Oh, I gotta get this, I gotta get that, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. And we get so busy. But take the time to slow yourself down and pour into yourself. You pour into yourself by drawing from the deep well that is within yourself. But you see, we take that well for granted. Oh, that doesn't really work. I just feel better for 10 minutes. 10 minutes of relief. You can do a lot with 10 minutes of relief. You can get into your mind's eye and see your desired outcome, reenact your desired outcome, and change your life within that 10-minute window. Oh, indeed you can. You see, that's how you fill up your own life. That's how you pour into yourself. People keep saying you can't pour from an empty cup. But look at the beginning of the equation. In order to pour from the empty cup, the cup must be filled up. But how do you fill up a cup? You draw from the well that is within you. That's how you fill up your own cup. You can't look to someone or something to fill that for you. It doesn't work that way. It is always as within, so without. This is how it works, from within to the outside. So this morning, be encouraged. Be encouraged to lower your bucket into the well. Lower it in there by spending time in quiet. Set your timer. I told you before, if you think you can only manage 3 minutes, well, set your timer for 3 minutes and sit there and just breathe for 3 minutes. Get so caught up in the breathing. Actually feel the air as you inhale. And then feel it as you exhale for 3 minutes. 5 minutes if you have it. 10 minutes. Doesn't matter. Start with what you think you can manage. And if your mind wanders away from that inhale and exhale, bring it back. Because again, what are you doing? You are literally and figuratively lowering your bucket into the well spring of your existence. And when you come into contact with that quote unquote water, when you come into contact with it, you'll know, because you'll feel the difference. I can't tell you, but if you try it, you'll feel it for yourself. And when you feel it, it might scare you a little bit. You're like, oh my God, crazy girl was right. But feel it. And then when you start feeling it more frequently, you see what state you're in? Look at how close you are. To what? You. God, if you want to call it that. Because that's what's within you, right? So what are you doing? You're drawing from what's within you. How do you think people look so young all the time? It's not just the plastic surgery or the lip fillers. Hello, because we can spot that a mile away. But genuinely, you ever see that person, you're like, dude, how do you look so good all the time? Not because they have no worries or not because they don't fret, but because they drink of that water. Scripture tells you that that water quenches a thirst. And it's not a thirst of, oh my God, my lips are parched, my throat is dry. That's not the kind of thirst it's speaking of. The thirst for the intimacy with oneself. The thirst to know oneself. It brings satisfaction, and then you're walking in, living in a state of satisfaction. And all of the things that accompany the state of satisfaction, you don't have to force them. Just by you being in the state of satisfaction, you will encounter those things. And then you'll say, well, how did you know I needed that? Because I know everything is what it will tell you. You think those inner thoughts that you have go unnoticed? They don't. Just get into the state. And the state that you select, all of whatever it is that accompanies that state, that corresponds to that state, you will encounter it, you will experience it, you will live it. So take the time. Take the time to learn the art of pouring into yourself. You want ideas. What do you want an idea to do? Talk to yourself. I'd like to do dot, dot, dot. I've always wanted to try dot, dot, dot. And get into your imagination. Get in there. See what it is you want to experience. And then do what Neville says. He says to experience in imagination what you would experience in reality if you were the man or the woman you wanted to be. But how do you know what you want to be if you don't spend time in that quiet place? Right? Sometimes we think we know what we want. But to be sure, get into that place. Oh, but meditation is so washed out and overrated. I'm not talking about meditating. The world has been selling us meditation. I'm telling you your true self. Get in there. As I said, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes. You know you better than anyone. What can you manage? And just sit there or lean back. What was his name? Is it Edgar Casey? I do believe they called him. They referred to him as the sleeping prophet. He was always in a meditative state. And so he would help people cure their illnesses and their ailments because he was in a meditative state. He could see beyond what they could see. You think he just got up one day and said, I'm an awesome meditator? No. He had a desire to do something. Remember, that desire comes out of you because the desire is you. And so he just found, you know what? If I spend some time in quiet, I'll get the answer. How do you think Oppenheimer came up with his beautiful design? Coincidence? How do you think Nikola Tesla came up with his? Because he was bored talking to his pigeons? No, he used his pigeons and got into a meditative state by speaking to them so he could see what it was he wanted to do in the world. You see, the key is not to laugh at them and call them crazy. The key is to observe, what did they do to tap into this quote unquote hidden information? They knew what they wanted because they asked a question. If I did this, if I built this, if I could just harness this, how do I do that? How? And the minute they started asking questions, the ideas began to turn. The bucket began to lower into the well of their very existence. That's what started happening, you know? It's like you'd call up your seamstress and you say, look, I need a dress for this wedding. And she'd ask you, what do you want? Do you want lace on it? What do you want to look like? You didn't even really have to give her a huge, clear picture. But because she's been sewing for you for quite some time, she gets an idea of you. But where did she get that from? She had to tap into herself to see it. She sits there and she says, you know, you wanted to look good because you wanted to come back and be your repeat customer and give referrals because it's her work she's putting on your body for the rest of the world to see. So she comes up with a design. You see, we take those things for granted and we think that coming up with a design or coming up with a story, do you think that Julia Quinn, when she was writing Bridgerton, do you think that when she sat there and she wrote that she could see Shonda Rhimes? No. She wrote her story because she wanted to tell a love story. Generation after generation after generation, she wanted to tell a love story. So she sat down and she said, I want this to be epic. I want it to be a page turner so people can't put it down. She knew what she wanted the outcome to be of the reader. She wanted to intrigue, to titillate, to tantalize, to tease the reader. That's what she knew. How do you know? Read one of her books and it will do exactly that. It's not a coincidence. But we take for granted the quiet time. And we think, well, can you imagine if she'd said, I'm sure it crossed her mind because she's human. What if nobody likes it? You know what kept her going? She loved it. She loved her own work. She loved her own company. You cannot write like that. Listen, for some of you who might think that romance novels are cheesy, that's not what I'm saying to you today. What I'm saying to you, look beyond that and look at what it takes to even sit and write. J.K. Rowling. You know, Harry Potter. She loved her characters. She loved herself. She loved what she was doing. And yes, some days you get discouraged when somebody says, oh, that's not quite what we're looking for. But because you are in love with what you do, you remain faithful to it. But how do you begin? You begin with your 3 minutes or your 5 minutes of that silent space and pouring into yourself so that you, as you draw up from the well to show the outside world, they will see what you love or they'll see what you hate. As within, so without. This is how you pour into yourself on a daily basis. You don't throw it away because, oh, nobody else likes it. You know, if you go back to scripture, you'll see the law. It says he first loved us. So he first loved self. That line in the secret book of John will always move me. It said the all was apprehended by its own awareness, by its own self. So you and me, when we take the time to just sit there. As I've told you, when you use the law of correspondence, as within, so without, what's inside of you? If you don't know that, look at causation. What is the effect that you would like to experience? And if you bask in that effect and revel in that effect, oh, I want to feel like this. Mm, I want to move like this. I want to talk like this and walk like this. Yes, I want to. You'll bring about the cause. But you have to begin. And some of us, we get to be impatient. Believe me, I know impatience all too well. You just want it and you want it now. But you have it now. The moment that desire comes upon you, you have it. So get in there and look at what you have. This is how you pour into yourself. This is how you stir up. This is how you rouse what is asleep within. It is always the imaginative person who will lead, you know. That's what it comes down to. The others who don't want to or are afraid to do it will always be led by the one who is imaginative. So learn and practice by tapping into your own mind's eye. Get in there. Listen, it's the best thing you can do for yourself. It's not just relegated to the artist or the writer or the singer or the dancer, the baker, the chef. Each human does something that is unique unto them. So it is for you to get in there and see it. And you notice something? It's mutually beneficial. It invigorates you with life so that you can pour that life out into the world. That's what it does. It invigorates you. It stirs you up. And you won't stop till you're done. That's the best part. So I know that we sometimes are so tempted to quote unquote wallow. But look at what you're doing when you wallow. You're doing the exact same thing. You are inside your mind's eye and you're saying, oh, but you see, every time I tried this, it didn't work. See, I tried that and that didn't work. You're seeing something in your mind's eye. So on the other side, see what you want to see in your mind's eye and become intrigued by it and say, yes, let's do it this way. Let's try that one. Let's be creative. And all of a sudden you'll find, oh, wait, I have so much energy because the thing that you're doing is mutually beneficial. Why? Because it needs your strength to bring it about. So it keeps you enticed by it and it feeds you so that you have the power to bring it to fruition. Mutually beneficial. It doesn't leech off of you like sorrow and sadness does. Because the funny thing about sorrow and sadness, they need strength too. But they don't give. They take, but they don't give. And by the time they're done with you, you're a withered husk of your former self. Whereas with the passion and the desire that you follow through with, it infuses you with life and strength. Because that is its nature. So today, learn the subtle art of pouring into one's self by drawing down to the very depths of you. It is in there. Take your time with it. That is the beauty of what we've been given. So you want to see your way through something? Get into your mind's eye. See your way through it. It'll invigorate you so you can feel your way through it. And once you've felt your way through it, you've moved. Now you have the strength and the power to do so. But again, you won't know until you test it out for yourself. So today, that is your encouragement. Test it for yourself. Test it. And you will notice you are energized so that you can carry on with the task. Let us take a brief moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space this morning. Hey, beloved love troll. I see you here on Twitter. You know, Elon made a post this morning and he said, be honest, you call it Twitter or you call it X? I'm like, dude, you know that everybody calls it Twitter because Twitter has been the word that we've been saying for however long this app has been open. And how do you say X? When you say X, you're talking about that person you were just glad to get rid of. Please. How do you want to be remembered? But I digress. But I didn't tell him that. This is his app. I can't act a fool on his app. Who's on YouTube and Facebook this morning? Hey, son. Ronay. Jeff, A. Not, hey. And the others who've not made themselves known in the chat. I see you. Who's on Fanbase this morning? Happy is in the house. Miss Cherry is here. Afternoon Delight is here. Joaquin is here. Tajane. I love it. Flo Smuts, what you got? Are those beignets? She's got this thing in her PDR. I don't know what it is, but it looks like beignets. Hey, honey. Miss McQueen, Ali is here.
I'm sorry, they're candy grapes.
They're who?
Candy grapes.
They're candied grapes. Oh, ooh, they look delicious. Oh, yes. They remind me of those British candies, and they're covered in icing sugar. Oh, I digress. Oracle Treehouse, Shea Butter, and KZ. They're all here this morning. And DeRosco is in the house. Listen. See? Some would say, oh, Angela, you're such a foodie. No, I'm not. I'm just excited by the simple things. And it looks tasty. So I want to partake in that. Maybe I should learn how to make them. So that's what I mean by pouring into yourself. When you start pouring into yourself, you will find that you have so many ideas. Your notebook is full. And you're like, okay, I did this one, check. Did this, check. Did check. And you will realize, King Beauty, hey. And you'll begin to realize, well, how did I get all these ideas? How did I start doing all these cool things? Because, you see, the thing that we take for granted the most, which is the stillness and the quiet time and the imagination, is the thing that gives you the strength and the power to follow through to bring about all the other things you want to experience in the world. But because we take quiet time for granted, because we don't see its value. And do you know why we don't see its value? Because we use it all the time. It's just child's play. Oh, every time you say imagination, I just think of kids because that's all they do, they just play. But what do children do when they play? They learn when they play. Not only do they learn when they play, they create. Watch them. You can throw out a box of Lego. I can just hear the noise of Legos right now. Imagine stepping on the Legos. But that small child is not putting it up their nose, but they're building something with it. Play is the creative act. Let me say it to you in a way that perhaps you'll understand. Foreplay is the creative act. What is it? Is what you do before you create, because it is what causes you to create. Hello, let me say it to you again. You see, this is why I'm telling you we take it for granted. Huh? How many people have written into Cosmopolitan magazine talking about the lack of foreplay in their lives? We take it for granted because we don't understand the true importance of it. It is the play that induces within us the desire to create. So if you don't play, how do you spark creation? So perhaps today you will look at foreplay in a different light because foreplay happens every day, all day within our mind's eye. It does. You're a seamstress or a tailor, and you go to Fabric Land or wherever they sell the fabric in your world. First of all, you can smell the fabric. And you know what a velour feels like. You know what a velvet feels like. You know what a rayon chiffon feels like. And you stroke it, you touch it, and you say, oh, to feel this on the skin. That is foreplay. The chef, they see the color of the saffron. They feel the vanilla bean. Yeah? They pour that cream into the bowl. And the way it just pours into the bowl and they whisk it. Or they beat the egg whites till they're stiff to fold and you make your meringue. All of that is foreplay. Because the very act of imagining it and what you can do with it to mold it and to shape it into what you want to make it into, that's the pleasurable part. That's how we pour into ourselves every day. But we take it for granted because we don't see its value. Why? Because we do it all the time. But look at what it is doing for you, with you, through you. And you'll get a better sense. And then you'll realize if you would take your time in the play, whatever you create will be much more beautiful. But hey, don't take my word for it. Try it out and you'll see. For real, for real. And the more time you spend in that place, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, 9 minutes, who knows? The more time you spend there, you'll be more intrigued to do it and do it. Right? That is the beauty that I wanted to share with you this morning. You know, that's it. How will you play today? How? And yes, delight, it is fact. Because you are in love with what you do, you remain faithful to it. Because what you're doing, if you weren't being it, you couldn't be doing it. If you were not being it, you couldn't be doing it. You only do what you are. You only do what you are. We don't ever seek to do, we seek to be. Look at it. You always want to become something. Why? So that you can do it. You always seek to become because the doing is inevitable. You do what you are. So if you become it, you will do it. Anyway, anyway. Let me get the bowl. So as you hear the bowl, right? What do you want to stir up within yourself? Make a commitment to yourself that same time every day. So don't just rush. Choose a time that you know you can commit to. Same time every day. Because consistency Remember, it creates a habit because you do the same thing the same way every time. And once you begin to do that, make that commitment to yourself. That commitment to do what? Discover the depths of the well within yourself. That's what you want to do. Because what's in it? Tons of things. But you won't know until you draw them out. And that's what that quiet time does. So select your best time that you can remain faithful to. And then you set the time you want to be in there. You turn on your timer and you do it. How many times a day do you want to do it? Go to that next level if you wish. Right? And you will notice something happening to you. And then you notice my DMs are always open. Slide in and tell me. Tell me what you've realized about yourself. You see, we want to change. But if you don't spend that time in quiet, how are you going to know what you want to change to? So make a commitment to yourself today when you hear the bowl and possible bird song. I think you might still be asleep. But make a commitment to yourself. I want to see who I am. I want to see who I am. And begin to play around with it. And I tell you, when you see it, when you start living that, you better hold on, baby. Hold on for that ride, okay? Because it is beautiful. It is. So if you have that book you want to write, you have that thing you want to do, get in there and it will emerge out of you because it's already done. It's just waiting for you because somebody has to do it. It might as well be you. This is why when Neville Goddard says you are the operant power, you have to do it. What good is the idea if you don't mold and shape it? So anyhow, as you hear the bowl and possible bird song, make that commitment to yourself today. To get in there, in your mind's eye, and to find out how deep the well goes within yourself. And you will find yourself to be invigorated, as Esther Hicks says, tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. And you will discover the true art of foreplay because it always precedes the creative act. You know, I love you. Let's get the bowl. Let's get the bowl. Turn that down there. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2. Twitter, King Beauty, it's symmetric, and beloved love troll. Thank you all for being here on Twitter this lovely, lovely Monday. And tonight we're going to go through some questions from the 5 lessons that Neville Goddard we did last week. We'll go through some of the questions, and ooh, some of the questions are lit, let me tell you. 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Right, Son, Rone, Jeff, Darling, Enoch, and the others on Facebook and YouTube who've not made themselves known, I see y'alls. So yeah, that's what we'll do tonight. We'll go through some of those questions. There's 36 questions, so we'll spend the week to go through them. At least we'll see. If you can get them all done tonight, hey, but I don't want to overwhelm our delicate sensibilities. Anyhow, much love to you, and I will see you tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, fan base. Much love. Twitter is closed.